Hey, second grade, it's Miss Crawl. I hope you all are doing well and ready to learn today. So today, we're going to be talking about context clues. Now, you may have heard of context clues. I want you to think about any time that you've heard context clues and think about what were you doing when your teacher was telling you to look at context clues. So there are times when we're reading, and there are times even when I'm reading still, that I might not know a word. I may not have heard it before. Maybe I heard it, but I didn't really know what it meant. I just really don't know what the word means. And when you don't know what a word means, that can kind of make it tricky to understand the sentence, right? Because if you don't know the word, it might be hard to understand what the sentence is saying. So one strategy that you can use if you don't know what a word means is context clues. You might be saying, Ms. Crawl, what are context clues? So context clues are the words or other information around that word that we don't know. So oftentimes, if we don't know something, the sentence around it or sentences around it can help tell us what that word means. It might give an example of that word. It might retell something. It might summarize it. It usually helps give us a clue. Let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. So I have this sentence here, and it says, you must select a stuffed animal from the 10 sitting on the shelf. All right, so I want you to pretend, I'm going to pretend that I don't know what the word select means. That's why I have it boxed. I don't know what that word select means. So I'm a little confused about this sentence. I'm going to go ahead and use the clues, the context clues, the sentence that's with the word select to help me. So let me reread it. You must select a stuffed animal from the 10 sitting on the shelf. Well, let me look. It says a stuffed animal, so that means I'm one stuffed animal. So one stuffed animal from 10 that are sitting on a shelf. So if there are 10 stuffed animals sitting on a shelf, and I select one stuffed animal, I think select means to pick. Because if there are 10 stuffed animals sitting on a shelf, and this select word says to select a or select one stuffed animal, another word for that in my mind is pick. I need to pick a stuffed animal out of that shelf where there are 10 stuffed animals sitting. So you can see how I used the context clues to help me figure out what select means. And that's what it means to use context clues to help you. So we're going to go ahead and do some more practice with this. So let me go ahead and make this bigger. Zoom in a little bit. So we have 4 examples here that we're just going to talk about. So number 1, I'm going to do this one for you. So it says, I want you to pay attention and listen. Your gift must be practical and useful for the city, said the king. So that bolded word, practical, is the word that we're trying to figure out. I don't know what practical means. I don't understand that. So I need to use the context clues that help me figure out the meaning. We're going to underline the clues that help me figure out the meaning of that word. Let me read it again. Your gift must be practical and useful for the city, said the king. Well, I see this word right here. Useful. Well, actually 2 words. And useful. So that and useful tells me that useful is another word for practical probably, right? They probably are close to the same thing. So practical and useful probably means that practical means it needs to be useful, needs to be something that makes sense, right? It needs to be something that can be used, it makes sense. It's not something that's crazy or out of this world that the gift is. So the gift must be something that makes sense, is useful, and is not out of this world crazy. So in this sentence, we use and useful to help us figure out what practical meant. It was kind of another example here. All right, number 2. From the ground, a well appeared and water surged forth. So surged is the word that we don't know. So let's look at the sentence around it, the words around it. From the ground, a well appeared and water surged forth. Well, a well, I know some previous background knowledge, usually has to do with water, okay? And we see the word water here, and usually water comes out of a well. There's also this word forth. So that makes me think that the water is coming forward. It's rushing forward because we have a well, which I know water comes out of, and then we have forth coming forward. So from those, I can assume that surged means it's coming out forward. It's coming out fast, right? It's coming from the well. It surged forth from the well. Let's look at number 3. This is not an appropriate gift for Athens. It is not suitable at all, moaned the king. So appropriate is the word that we don't know what it means. So let's look for context clues to help us. So this is not an appropriate gift for Athens. It is not suitable at all. Well, something that really sticks out to me is this word suitable. Well, actually a couple words. It is not suitable. So if something's not suitable, that means it's not fit. It's not correct for that situation. So I think that's what appropriate means, because it kind of restated, this sentence kind of restated what appropriate meant, right? And sometimes that's what context clues do. They might restate. They might give another example, right? Up in this one, they used and useful. So they kind of use another word for practical. They might restate. They might give more detail to help you figure it out. That's what context clues do. So in this one, they kind of restated it. So this is not an appropriate gift for Athens. It is not suitable. So I can kind of put together that appropriate means that it's not right. It's not an okay gift for the situation. It's not an appropriate gift, right? It's not something that should be given as a gift in this situation. Last one we're going to do. Athena was pleased, but Poseidon was miserable at losing the contest. So the word that we don't know is miserable. So I'm going to challenge you this time. I want you to listen to this one more time as I read it. Athena was pleased, but Poseidon was miserable at losing the contest. So I want you to think, what clues do we have in here that help tell us what miserable means? So I want you to go ahead. You're going to get your pointing finger out and pretend underline the context clues that help tell us what the word miserable means. So go ahead and pause me and do that so you can practice. All right, so you should have underlined a couple things. For one, we see Athena was pleased. So pleased means happy, but, so that word but means that Poseidon was not pleased. So that kind of gives us a clue that miserable does not mean happy or pleased, right? So that's something we can underline. Pleased, but. So that says, hey, Poseidon's the opposite of pleased and happy. So miserable probably means mad or not happy. Another clue in the sentence is at losing the contest. So if someone loses a contest, that's another hint that they're probably not happy, right? Now in this sentence, Athena was happy, but Poseidon was miserable at losing the contest. So not only does that pleased but say, hey, this guy's the opposite of pleased, but losing the contest also gives us a hint that, you know what, miserable probably means not happy, not pleased, right? Mad, sad. If you're miserable, you kind of feel all of those things. All right, second grade, that was awesome work. Quick review before you go. So context clues help us figure out words and the meaning of words that we may not mean. So it can be the sentence or sentences around that word. And those context clues can sometimes restate that word. They can retell, they can describe, they can tell us in a lot of different ways. So we can use that information around that word we don't know to help us get a general idea of what that word means. All right, great job, second grade. I'll see you next time.